in your order of service that there's, by some of the hymns, there's an asterisk, and that means please rise in body or spirit, just so you're aware of that. And so our first hymn, please rise in body and spirit, as we sing number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. And please join in the singing.
Come this morning into this time of transition, this place of threshold, this place in between. Come into the no longer, into the not yet, into the I don't know. Come into the messy, the confusion, into the can we please go back? Come into the magic, the mystery, the what might be. Come, come, a liminal space. Come into a place of waiting together.
Glad you came. Good morning. This is the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ogden. My name is John, and I'm glad to be your worship leader this morning. The UU Church is a welcoming and inclusive place where diversity of thought is encouraged, sought, and appreciated. It doesn't matter who you love or how you identify yourself. We come here because we want to think for ourselves and explore with others. We ask questions, We value the exchange of ideas and the depth that can come from being in community. Newcomers, we encourage you to fill out the newcomer card in the pews and put it in the offering basket when it comes by later. And if you're online, you can do that there also. Okay. And if you haven't already, please silence your phones for the service. And we are so glad you're all here. Welcome.
What chalice?
Did I skip the chalice? Thank you, Dylan. Yeah, I'm amazed at how I do this every time. Suzanne, would you please come up and light the chalice?
Light this chalice with a warmth of love, truth, and for redemption of
I have a reading here by Rainier Maria Rilke. Have patience with everything unresolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers which could not be given to you now because you'd not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday, in the far future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answers. I had a nightmare last night that at this point in time, we would lose Kristen just when she and I didn't know what I would do.
Did you really?
Yes.
You're a prophet.
Am I on screen? I don't see myself on screen, and that's why I'm waiting.
But you're still here. You're with us.
I'm so sorry to give you nightmares, John. And we've learned from Nitai that we can still make it happen, and we are malleable and creative. Y'all can hear me? I'm realizing today that I'm doing my sermon split into two pieces, and I wonder if the choir wants to move twice. I know you'll be singing in between the two pieces, but up to you if you all want to move for this first piece. All right, I'm going to go ahead. So my husband was traveling for work this past week, and so I was parenting on my own all week. And some of you have met my little kiddo. She just turned 4 years old, and she is a great joy to hang out with. And also, as you can imagine, full-time parenting by yourself means that there is not much alone time. And so my sneaky plan for the week was to put her to bed an hour earlier than normal each night so that I could get just 1 hour of reprieve. And the reason I knew I could do this is because when you first become a parent, the so-called experts suggest developing a bedtime routine early on. Our bedtime routine looks like this. We put PJs on, we floss and brush teeth, we read books, we sing a song, we go to bed. It's simple and it works. And her brain, when we do this routine, tells her it's time to go to sleep. And so my tactic this week for getting her to bed early was to just count on the bedtime routine. Because I realized that it really doesn't matter if it's 6 p.m. or if it's 7 p.m. If we do the routine, her brain says, go to sleep, and she does. It is magic. I'm sure that this magic won't last forever. At some point, there will be other factors that help shape her needs and desires, and the simple routine will compete with other priorities. And this, of course, got me thinking of church life, as everything does. Something we've been talking about here before was the fact that during the pandemic, people got out of the routine of going to church. And once we were able to gather in person again, many people just didn't. They stopped coming regularly. This isn't just in our congregation, it's across the country, outside of Unitarian Universalism, inside Unitarian Universalism. Because people's lives changed during the pandemic, and their lives were filled with other priorities and needs, and the norms around church going changed. It's like now that we are not any longer on autopilot, which we might have been pre-pandemic. We're no longer on autopilot, so we can't be tricked into going to bed an hour early. Which means we need to be much more clear and straightforward about the point of coming to church, including this church. And you've heard me say to you all before that I think this is a good thing. We've talked together here about the fact that religion as a whole is changing, that people don't see the need for going to a faith community in the same way that they used to. It's really an in-between time for society at large, and for Unitarian Universalism, and for this congregation. And the tricky thing about this in-between time is that we still don't know what that future will look like. It's been over 4 years since the world shut down for COVID, and it's been about 7 years of our own tradition here, 7-ish years since UUCO had a settled minister. And so it's easy to feel like we as a church and as the world should already know what the next thing is and be doing it. I had a colleague say to me this week, I get that we're still in a liminal time, a time of transition, but how long is this time period going to last? When is it over? How will we know? It's because liminal space is uncomfortable. It makes us squirm. You've maybe heard the analogy of liminality, that in-betweenness time, being a state of being when you're on a trapeze. Can you picture that with me? And you are holding on to one bar, and you let go of the one bar and turn to catch the next on the trapeze. And there's this moment of space between one bar and the next when you're just in the air, not holding on to anything. Liminal space is the moments of uncertainty and anxiety and unease before your hands grasp the next swinging bar. And it's usually why, in times like these, we tend to try to get out of the awkwardness as quickly as possible. Usually that looks like trying desperately to return to the way things were, or to figure out the next thing quickly so that there's something, anything to ground us. Professionals who study liminal times have warnings for what might happen in times like these. They caution that in the disorientation and discomfort, there is a tendency to turn towards leaders who promise comfort and certainty and a return to the good old days if you'll just follow them. Many people find themselves scared of these changing times and wanting to just return to something that feels normal. And the trick in times of transition is to not return to what was comfortable before, because you know that it's no longer right. But you also can't just jump to the very next shiny thing that you see, because that may also not be the right thing. And the third thing that you can't do in times of transition is to miss the fact that you're in a time of transition completely, to just turn on autopilot. Intentionality about our path is the key. And so as we move into this next song, I just want to invite you to ground yourself in the discomfort of liminality, in the discomfort of the in-between times. As we sit in song together, we're going to ground ourselves with these words from our past UUA president, Susan Frederick Gray. She offered this reframe last year as she was ending her term. She said, "In this world where so much is unsettled, we need communities willing to remain unsettled, willing to lean into the creative and challenging and sometimes messy, often messy, powerful, growth-filled space of faithfully becoming prophetic and life-saving and justice-making ministries." Let's sit with that during this hymn. Find it painfully ironic to be talking about transition and transformation in our community after an event like what happened yesterday. Most of you have likely heard that yesterday afternoon there was a shooting at a political rally for the former president of the United States. The shooter and a rally goer were both killed, and 2 others were critically injured. Yesterday's news brought up very conflicting and unsettled emotions for so many of us. Fear and shock, anxiety, anger, sadness, much more. And there is no doubt that this is a moment that could move the trajectory of the next few years in a different direction. It is a transitional moment that without being deeply grounded in values and intentionality, could easily further divides and enhance polarities and see us acting out of anxiousness and fear rather than out of our deeply rooted values and integrity. The Unitarian Universalist Association put out a statement last night, and in that statement, they described the times as precarious. They offered this advice in this particular transitional time. Anchor yourself, they said. Anchor yourself in communities and relationships that foster resilience and liberation and strategy. Cultivate nuance and seek out deep wisdom and political analysis and spiritual grounding. Remember, they said, our Unitarian Universalist values of human dignity and justice, compassion, and democratic principles. And keep love at the center, they said, because we are in this together. We would be one, the song we just sang says. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which bends our hearts and points us on our way. That is our job, with and for each other, and for ourselves and for future generations. To bend and hold true to our hearts and point us on our way. But without clear direction, we can flounder and run towards comfortable answers or shiny promised futures that are too good to be true. Unitarian Universalist minister Tom Ballat describes it as a boat at sea, adrift and susceptible to the whims of wind and surf or to anyone who might grab the steering wheel. And so our work is to use this time of transition to figure it out together, to not be adrift and susceptible to the whims of wind and surf. In essence, we, our congregation, society as a whole, we need a renewed mission and clear goals and an engaging and vibrant vision. At our congregational meeting in June, you all voted to fund my ministry with you for the next year. And our work together will be to embrace this transitional time period, which means we won't just be coasting along with the familiar. We will be asking each other deep questions that will elicit the answers of why this congregation continues to be needed in this place at this time. And while you haven't officially hired me as a so-called transitional minister, which is actually a thing, it's the formal term for a minister that comes in and supports you in doing the work needed to find your next long-time called minister. Even though we haven't officially called me that, in essence, that's the work we will be doing together in the coming year. Transitional ministers usually come in with a particular set of goals for the congregation. And these include getting clarity on 3 questions. Who are we? Let me start again. The 3 questions are, who were we? Who are we? And who do we wish to become? Who were we? Who are we? And who do we wish to become? The task I see before us is to let these questions be an invitation to explore deeply together. We aren't just coming up with a mission statement for the congregation. We are living into who we are called to be as Unitarian Universalists in Ogden. And we might be surprised to learn that we have different answers to these questions. And we will want to be on the same page about the answers because they will lead us to choose different priorities for our congregation. For instance, if we decide that we exist here in Ogden to be a safe community that feels like family, we might put our resources, our funding, our volunteer time into having potlucks together, into nurturing that safe community and that feeling of family. Or if we exist to be a model to Ogden and the surrounding community, to show how we might live our lives centering love, then perhaps we will prioritize to do more public-facing ministry, to getting beyond our walls and showing up in a public way how we center love. There's a plethora of ways that we might decide to name who it is that we want to be. And based on the plethora of ways we might move, that will lead us to our priorities for the coming year. Our work together this year is to get below what might feel obvious and routine. And with that intentionality, to name with conviction why this congregation exists in the world. My role as your minister is to support us in hearing each other, to create spaces for honesty and connection, and to share resources and learnings and move with you as you transform and gain clarity. My role won't be to tell you the answers, although I will definitely share possibilities and directions and ideas. And I want you to know that I won't be offended if you decide to move in different ways that are not the ways I suggested, because this is your work and our work together. Your board has already tasked a new team for this work. The newly named Transitions Team describes their work for the year in this way. They've said, our work is to support the congregation in discerning who and what we want to be, to encourage creativity, to help create a plan for transition and develop a leadership model for sustainability. Their role is to help the congregation look towards the future, help the congregation have agency in making decisions together, and offer pastoral care as we make transitions and transformations. We don't want to leave anyone behind as we move to whatever the next thing is. It makes sense that we don't have the answers right now, and that's good. In liminal times, the questions are as important as the answers. As our earlier reading suggested, try to love the questions now. Live the questions, because then we will live our way into the answers. My sincere hope for us this year is that we will live the questions so fully that the answers will become clear. And with that renewed clarity, we will feel grounded for the challenges that we may face as a society going forward. One of my favorite poets, Chilean author Pablo Neruda, published one final collection of poetry just a few months before he died. It was called The Book of Questions. And in poetic form, his book included only questions. Who shouted for joy when the color blue was born, he asks. Where is the center of the sea? And why don't the waves break there? And could it be that the earth is briefly borrowing the sea? Won't we have to return it with its tides to the moon? His final book, A Book of Questions. These unanswerable questions are playful, mysterious, paradoxical, and nourished by a radical lack of certainty. In a gracious and meaningful gesture, the book's editor says, what Pablo Neruda shares with us as an old man isn't an arrival at truth, but the astonishing freedom of a curious mind that dares to reimagine the world again and again. Enjoy these questions, the editor says. Enjoy the questions however they arrive for you. They come as a reminder of the vastness of our unknowing and a call to passionate engagement in an endlessly re-envisioning the world. This year, may we be nourished by the vastness of our unknowing. May we be passionately intentional about naming who we are and where we are headed. May this time of engaged exploration be a joy. And may the commitment to our values ground us in this time of transition. Invite you into a time of prayer and meditation. If it feels comfortable to you, I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze and calm your body with some slow breaths. These words of prayer were written by Dana Edwards in the aftermath of yesterday's events. Spirit of life and love, we gather today with hearts that are overwhelmed, overstimulated, oversaturated by the news and current events. We hold in our hearts those who were impacted by yet another episode of gun violence during a large gathering in our country. We lift up our prayers for those injured, including the former president, and those who lost their lives yesterday. We are alarmed and shocked by the political violence we witnessed on our screens last night, and we are deeply concerned about the delicate condition of our democracy. We pray for peace in our nation. Source of all creation and creativity, help us imagine a new way. Help us access our best version of ourselves, because that is who we will need to be in this crucial moment in our country's history. Guide us towards wisdom. Inspire us to articulate our personal values and embody those values. Ground us in the embrace of compassion and community. Stir our hearts to engage in nuanced and thoughtful conversations, and remind us when we forget that many things can be true at the same time. Let us rest in the both and. Let us discern fact from fiction. Let us acknowledge that emotions don't travel alone, and we can have many feelings at once. Let us never forget that regardless of political affiliation, each of us has inherent worth and dignity. Each of us is enough. Each of us are holy, and each of us is loved. Amen. If you are online with us this morning, I invite you to light a candle or hold a stone warmly in your hand. Let it remind you of gratitude and of sorrow, of all the nuance of being human. For those in person, you are invited to come forward in quiet contemplation, as together we light candles of hope and love, compassion and care, and drop stones into healing waters, naming symbolically the grief and heaviness and weight of the world. May you come forward in love and feel held by this community.
We are so grateful to be in a community where we can share our resources and live out our vision of the world. Our offering every Sunday is a testament to the value of this community and to our lived values. If you would rise and turn towards the center aisle. And from your order of service, please join in blessing your offering.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Thank you for giving. This offering helps us in our efforts, both big and small, to make the world the place we want it to be. We have a couple of invitations. Lisa, could you come up here and speak?
You can tell I'm nervous because I brought my fan club with me. I'm not a big public speaker. Super excited that we're going to be involved in Pride this year. We will have a booth on Sunday. We need volunteers to help staff the booth, set up and take it down. Those hours, since they're kind of specific, we start setting up at 8. Well, we can set up at 8. They'll give us times at our meeting. I'm going to a meeting on Saturday. So if anybody wants to join me at the meeting, we'll get final information about setup. But we set up at usually around 8, and then we'll be there most of the day into the evening. So any hours that you can pitch in and come, that would be lovely. Kristen will be joining us for the rally on Friday, we're meeting Sunday for the booth. Saturday is the rally starting at 5. They'll have a march at 5:45. So if you want to come and represent, that's wonderful. And then if you're interested, there is a queer prom on Friday at the Monarch. So if you want to go and bring your love, whoever that is, bring them and celebrate. And I wanted to share why I'm so excited about Pride. I was thinking about this all week because I just woke up just with all these ideas about 5 o'clock in the morning Wednesday. But I realized one of the reasons I Pride is for my 20-year-old self, who, when my aunt and her partner came to visit me, I gave her a Book of Mormon and bore my testimony because I was trying to convert them to straighthood. I thought I'm going to bring this gift, and thankfully they loved me. They love me so much, and they help me understand what a beautiful world this is and what a beautiful world, because they love each other and they shared that with me. But I also pride for her and her wife and daughters who are now moving from Florida to Maine because it doesn't feel safe for them anymore. So that's why I pride. And I pride for our church, for our group, where love is at the center. And I can't wait to get out there and show our community that there is a place where they can come and find sanctuary and that they are free to love and be who they are. And so that's why I pride. And I hope you will sign up to volunteer in any capacity. It doesn't matter. I would just love for us to be there and So please let me know, let Marianne know, reach out and we can fill up those time slots. So excited. So no, the weekend after. Well, actually, a couple of weeks. We got a couple of weeks. Yeah, fourth is the booth. Fourth is the rally. Should get my notes. Fourth of the festival. Sunday is when we're having our booth. We'll march on Saturday and then Sunday we'll have a booth.
So I'm confused. Can you go through that again? What's happening?
Yes.
In order?
And I'll read it from my list so I don't run around in circles. So the second, Friday the 2nd is the queer prom. Tickets, it's at the Monarch and tickets are $5. So that's to go there. The rally is Saturday, August 3rd. The location, we start at the Golden Hour Senior Center. So the rally starts at 5, the march is at 5:40, and then the festival officially opens at 6. So that's Saturday. That's when we'd like people there to walk in the march. And then Sunday, August 4th is when we have the booth. And so that's when we'll need volunteers to set up and be there. We'll have things to give out, but that's when we'll also be representing on Sunday. And then I'll have more information after the Saturday meeting that I can share next week. So any questions you have, let me know and let Marianne know and we can get those asked and go from there. Okay.
Thank you.
Not Debbie, Kristen mentioned the transition team and how we are beginning to envision ourselves. And Debbie and Brian are going to be hosting a listening session. I understand a discussion. Debbie, do you want to talk about that?
So I think we're going to be meeting across the hall or in the library. I'm not 100% sure. That wasn't cleared up. But it's just an opportunity to share your goal for our UUCO community. And also to learn, if those of you who are new or are visiting, to learn how we functioned in the past. But we want to hear from you. We want to know what your dreams are for UUCO.
Is that today?
It is today, and it will be, I think, do we still go over to coffee over?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start, let's see, about 11:30. How's that? Somewhere over here. And if they're full, we'll come back in here. I know we have this space for sure.
So let us be clear, go over there, get your coffee and your treats, and then come back over here for the listening session, okay? All right, that's all I have to say.
Life goes on in endless song of lover's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I hear the truth it liveth. What through the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. The storm can shake my inmost calm, while to the rock I'm clinging. Since love is wills in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing?
Our chalice extinguished itself, so I'm going to extinguish the candle over here. Please join me in the chalice extinguishing words.
We extinguish that chalice, but not the words of love, and light is truth,
For the energy of action. May you be held up in love. May you be grounded in courage as we move through these liminal days together.